Hello everyone who just likes to stab things with the most spiky of spikes. I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths and another faction overview. We're doing the White Flayers this time. So, first off, apologies for not getting to the Twin Guard. They were supposed to happen next, but I've heard on the grapevine that there's major updates coming their way, and we should save them for when we can see them in all their new shiny glory. And doing it in faction order kind of makes a lot of sense, doing it in the order of the spawn menu and also overall difficulty. And on that note of the grapevine, I would like to introduce a most special of guests. A keeper of the lore and VTuber, streaming from the depths and other stuff. Royston, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, it's me, the Grapevine. I'm Royston VT, for those of you that don't know. I work very closely with other codals to get the campaign units up to snuff and make sure that they're working with each update that we have. I will mention this now, I do prioritize working on Ashes, which is the land campaign. So if I get a little bit here and there wrong, the Evercodals will crucify me, but that's fine. For the most part, I'm just here to provide context for like, oh, how is this style, or what is this called? And I'll let BorderWise do most of the talking.
Awesome! Well, just so you know, if they crucify you, I'll be right up there on the cross with you, probably. Just because people like to point out when I'm wrong. But anyway, so let's get into the White Flayers, those spiky, pointy, zealoty people. To start off with, just like previously, we're going to briefly mention the characteristics of the map where they live. So, High Lorum is where the cream of the crop live, and the only thing really to mention about that part of the world is the odd patch of shallow ocean, which is going to make cheesing the White Flayers with submarines a little bit difficult if you have not either built good terrain avoidance into your submarines or, at the very least, have carpeted their underside and noses with rubber for safety. And, Royston, do you want to mention, why that is, why there's a little bit of shallow ocean over in that corner of the world?
For sure. So you'll notice that between Fishbone Island, which is the furthest extent of White Flayers territory, all the way up to High Lorum, you're going to have a lot of sandbars, you're going to have a lot of shallow areas. And the reason for this is twofold. Essentially, the way White Flayer submarines work is that they often stay close to the surface, with either ramming or pack melee, melee packs, or some various forms of melee weapon that they want to hit the underside of your ship with. And so having this area be completely sandbars doesn't really affect the White Flayer subs because they're already near the surface, but it does prevent you from countering their subs with subs of your own. And it's quite a neat little trick here because I play subs quite often in campaign, and you can definitely get absolutely destroyed if you're not careful with how you're playing with them, because you will just hit the terrain or beat yourself and you'll just die to bears.
Yeah. Thank you, Royston. And so I just sneakily spawned in a submarine right there. I think the Pontus is probably the best example of this. You will see that this thing essentially has an angle grinder right in the middle of it. Or is it more of a buzzsaw? It's more of a buzzsaw. And this is exactly what Royston is talking about. White Flayer subs like to hug the surface and rip up your undersides, and they can travel the shallow seas around their hometown. And so you better make sure that your submarines can do the same, but we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So we're going to talk about the faction characteristics now, and one word to sum up the White Flayers in total is pointy. They love to use pointy stuff in general, even their aesthetics. Royston can tell you a lot more about that in a moment. But generally, they really like to use armor-piercing rounds fired from APS. A lot of their stuff use railguns. They also love particle cannons, particularly piercing, but also EMP. And infamously, the ramming craft. So, these guys are a really traumatic introduction to suicide vehicles. Especially since, Royston, would you agree that, after the Deepwater Guard and the Onyx Watch, the White Flayers this is where the Nita campaign actually gets kind of difficult, because these guys suddenly have a whole bunch of toys which the previous factions don't really use at all.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So the way the White Flayers works difficulty-wise is I've always considered them to be the third faction difficulty-wise. Some people consider TG and Lightning Hoods to be also third factions, because you have your two easies, which is Onyx Watch, Deepwater Guard. And then you have a free, so you have Twin Guard, White Flayers, Lightning Hoods, and those are considered the free mediums. And then you have your hards like Steel Striders and Great Talons, and then you have the the hardest faction, Scarlet Dawn. And so the way White Flayers is balanced is that like it doesn't have the same restrictions that Deepwater Guard or Onyx Watch have. So by the time, like, if you blast through Deepwater Guard and Onyx Watch, and you're gonna hit a wall at White Flayers if you're a newer player.
Yeah, they are very much a beefgate. They have a lot of, they do a lot of cheeky things that the other two don't. And also, a note on that, and this goes for, like, all of the most wanted videos I've made, and these faction overviews as well. Whether you find I locked onto a spin block there and almost made myself sick.
No.
Yep. Alright, so... whether you find a faction or even a particular vehicle difficult also depends a lot on your playstyle and how you build and use your craft. A lot of people, like, for the White Flayers, people are scared of them because of, like, the particular way that they do their stuff. And the Lightning Hoods, getting ahead of ourselves again, they like to use lasers. If you like to make things which dodge incoming shells, lasers are going to ruin your day. The Twin Guard are just annoying. And, yeah, oh yeah, people really want us to get to the Twin Guard because they just are full of things that make you very, very salty. But, again, getting ahead of ourselves a bit. So let's go down the list of things that the White Flayers kind of do. And if I miss anything, Roar, like, you can hopefully fill in the stuff I miss. And, yeah, so, first thing is, like, the suicide vehicles, of course. They have a whole bunch of them, and probably... the one you're likely to run into, like, pretty early, because it's an easy design, I just remembered I can't pause and lock onto things, is the Martyr. So I've just spawned this in, and I'm trying to keep up with it. Like, there's your first warning. There's your first warning, it's fast. Oh, thank you. I forgot I could do that. This is actually quite cool, actually, you just freezing it, and I look at it. So, this is very characteristic of the White Flayers like to do. They like to send things at you that will kill themselves, but hopefully, at the very least, kill you a little bit. No other faction really goes in for suicide vehicles quite like these guys do. Like, you do run into them later, but man, the White Flayers like to kill themselves on you. But they're also a horrible introduction to hit-scan weapons. Like, I think I spawned the Pulverizer down here. If you look at its snoot and actually look above it as well, those are particle cannons. I believe if you're playing the factions in order, it's only the... what's it? The Casket Bolt that has a pack? Is that correct, Roar?
Yes, so the Casket Bolt is the only early game vehicle that has a pack. It's decked with look like a test coil. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's a quick introductory to pack. White Flayers is where you really start to get into, like, alright, these packs will hurt you now.
Yeah, and they really do hurt. I got a horrible shock the other day testing against a Pulverizer because it EMP'd my brains out. Or rather, the brains of my ship. My brains are fine, honest. But yeah, that is the point where really a player is going to be like, oh, hello, hit-scan weapons. You can't really dodge these, at least not easily, so have to learn to live with it. And also, all of a sudden, like, your defense against these guys has to change a lot. You can kind of cruise through the Deepwater Guard and the Onyx Watch by kind of, like, having essentially glass cannons and just out-DPSing them. The White Flayers, I feel, are a bit hard to out-DPS because they really lean into using shield projectors, they really lean into just, I don't know, they don't care about defense, they focus on offense. And I just realized I was reading my notes wrong, because the point is that because they like to spam armor-piercing shells, it forces you to learn about shields, particularly shield projectors. It kind of forces you to start using stronger armor materials and smarter armoring, because you're going to have to learn to use slopes and wedges in particular, because let's look at our friend the Slasher over here, and this is not even the hardest ship firing the nastiest shells. It's still firing a sabot head that has 73 armor piercing, and the rate of fire on each one of these guns is 90. And again, this is like, the Slasher is, where is it? It is it's a medium craft. So yeah, it only gets worse from here, from a 73 armor piercing shell. So at that point, you're going to have to start using things like slopes and wedges. Let me just drop a slope on the Slasher. So slopes, wedges, beam slopes in your armor, stuff like that, because that will really help with reducing kinetic damage. If you're not using that and you fight the White Slayers, you might find that your AI is suddenly missing for some reason. And there's also a hole straight through your ship where it used to be. And I would say the White Flayers are really kind of a punishment for glass cannons. Because, like, they're so focused on offense over defense that, like, you're trying to out-DPS, well, you're gonna have to try and beat them at their own game, which is advisable, but at the same time, they're pretty good at their own game, I would say. So, yeah.
Another note... Oh,
yep, nope, go on.
Another note with White Flayers' difficulty is that they tend to move a lot faster than both the previous factions, and so if you're someone who relies on crams quite heavily in the early game, yeah, that will work against Onyx Watch, that will definitely work against Deepwater Guard. White Flayers will most likely be able to dodge your crams. Exactly.
Like, that is something that is really worth stressing, is that these guys are fast. Like, where'd the Martyr go?
He's still suspended in midair. He's on timeout.
Well, I can't find him because I'm there he is. Alright, so now I'm locked onto the Martyr. Can you let him go?
Sure.
Alright.
Off timeout.
Hold on.
1 second, turn this AI off. There we go.
And hold on to your butts. This is how White Flayers like to drive. So, yeah, if you're... Not only crams, if you're using, like, lower velocity APS, you might have a rude shock when you run into these guys. And also, that is actually a thing with the White Flayers, I feel. You kind of basically have to copy them in order to, like, beat them effectively. Like, you're gonna have to use the armor-piercing shells, because they're using proper armor. You're gonna have to use hit-scan weapons for their crazy suicide craft. And also, your craft are gonna have to get a lot faster and more maneuverable, because even if they can't outrun a suicide craft, being just a little bit faster and more maneuverable buys you more time to shoot them down, which is really important. Because, I don't know, like, look at the 2 nuclear weapons, like, duct tape to the front of this Martyr. That really hurts. They're also the first faction to use EMP, like, with great enthusiasm, because the Deepwater Guard and Onyx Watch doesn't do that, so if you're not using rubber around your most important electronics, you're gonna have to learn really quick, because, like, the Pulverizer is actually a very good example of that. That pack in the front there, unless I'm completely misremembering, is... Actually, it's an impact pack. Interesting. Roar, does this thing switch its damage types by any chance?
It's possible. I know we have quite a few designs in White Flayers that do. I would have to take a look. Let me see if there's an ACB on board.
I'm also looking for an ACB. Like,
I do not believe it does. I believe the pulverized. Most White Flayer packs are impact, as far as I'm aware at the moment.
And the odd piercing one as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, I must be thinking of a different submarine then. They also like using shields, so especially their later stuff. Well, that's a good later stuff. Retaliator is a later stuff. They like to go nuts on the shield projectors, so this is the point where those disruptor shells start to be, like, really, really handy if you want to kill these things before they kill you. Ah, here they go. It is quite handy, though, like, you look at the interiors of these craft, they are essentially... Reverse engineering them is actually very helpful for actually beating them. Because you can see, I'm looking inside the Retaliator right now, there's rubber insulation around the shield projectors, and that's a pretty good hint for new players to be like, oh, this is a good idea. So that's nice, that's a nice touch. But there's a lot of shields in here. You just mindlessly spam APS at them, a lot of them are going to bounce off into space, and take your hopes and dreams with them. Okay, so now we should probably get onto the weapons to use against them. And we've kind of already covered that. It's beat them at their own game. So, armor-piercing APS, piercing or EMP pack, just kill them before they kill you. Cram, Rostin, as already not mentioned, is not that helpful. Against things like, against their submarines, like, it can kind of work, because their submarines are close to the surface. Against things like the Martyr, nope, Cram is bad. Weirdly enough, Cram actually gets more useful against the White Flayers on higher difficulties when they start spawning in massive things like the Retaliator and the Redeemer and other things like that, because these guys are slow enough and big enough and expensive enough to be good cram targets. And also, I believe there's only one White Flayers craft that uses lambs at all. Like, Roar, is that correct?
As far as I'm aware, White Flayers does tend to shy away from active defense. I've definitely noticed a few have Sea-Whizzes here.
Yeah, the
But as far as
Retaliator.
lambs, I don't believe they have too many. If they do, it would be the Priest-style ships that have them, definitely not the Zealots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, on that note, Roar, do you want to just mention, like, I guess the lore distinction between the two styles of White Flare ships, because that's a really cool thing to take note of.
Yeah, for sure I can. So, there's two styles in White Flayers. You have your Priest-style ships, which is something like the Retaliator over here. You'll notice that they're a lot cleaner, they're a lot neater, for lack of a better word. And they also tend to carry more advanced tech and weaponry. So what you have here is the Priest-style is that's like the cream of the crop of White Flayers. That's your leaders, that's your officers. Like, they care about their lives, they want to keep it. They don't fully believe in the cause, they don't... they know their religion is... they're using it to their purposes. Puppet masters, if you would. And then you have the Zealots, which is like the Pulverizer over here. Actually, I'm going to do a little spoiler here. I have the latest Zealot craft that's going to be in the next update.
Oh, awesome.
I'm going to spawn that in. And
Aha!
that's why I said it's me, the Grapevine. So you can see here, the Velas here it's a lot, you'll notice it, first off, it's much faster when it does move. And it's a lot spikier, there's a lot more moving parts to it, a lot more melee focused. And that's probably the biggest, gameplay-wise, is that Zealots are probably going to be more melee-focused craft, whereas your Priestcraft are going to stay back. They're going to be at standoff range. They're going to be firing high-powered guns at you. They don't want to die for the cause. The Zealots absolutely will die for the cause. So the Martyr that you saw flying around previously is also a Martyr craft, or a Zealot craft, sorry.
Alright, thank you, Roar. So, two playstyles of ship, I guess you could say. Honestly, for a newer player, the Zealot craft? Now I'm confused. Zealot or Martyr craft? It's Zealot, right?
It's Zealot, yes, sorry. The Martyr is a Zealot craft. Zealot is the style.
The Martyr is a Zealot, but not all Zealots are Martyrs.
True.
But yeah, so for a newer player, I would feel that the Zealot craft are kind of more of a shock, because, like, alright, so the Priest craft, they're big, they're scary, they have very scary weaponry on them, but they still kind of act a little bit like a Deepwater Guard and Onyx Watch ships do. They have their preferred distance, they stay at it, and they shoot at you. Things like this fella, the Velays, they will drive straight into your face, like, heedless of their own doom, and just, well, they crash into you, and I just want to demonstrate that. I'm just going to delete all vehicles now. I'm going to spawn in... I'm going to spawn in the old Velays, just because that's, I don't know. I'm going to spawn...
I can spawn one.
Okay, so where are you?
Which team?
Just spawn in on White Flayers. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I just need to know where you've spawned it in. Velays is
right
right over there. And I will spawn in a hapless victim for it. Iron Gordon. There's no ways this will go badly. So, you've spawned it too low.
Did I? Interesting.
Oops. All right.
We'll spawn in the second one.
Cut.
Fine,
Cut.
I didn't realize it would sync like that. That's See, better. It is broken. Interesting. Alright.
Edit this part out.
Cut this part out. We'll just do the old.
Cut.
Show it off of a Martyr. That would probably be easier. Oh, there we go. I've never seen them do that. I'll have to talk about that in Little Chat.
Yay, we're bug testing. Alright, I'm just gonna spawn in a Martyr. Basically, craft that do this... Holy crap, I actually locked onto it. Craft which do this are just like... It missed. No, it didn't.
No, it's just...
Give it a second. There we go.
There you go.
So yeah...
I like the new Nuke animation.
It does look awesome, doesn't it? So yeah, that is something that new players might not quite be ready for once they're fresh off the first two factions. So the White Flayers are a lesson in humility when it comes to setting up multiple AIs with different target prioritization, because you don't want to be shooting at, say, a Retaliator and like all your weapons are trained on it, and then a Martyr comes in and absolutely ruins your life. Missiles. White Flayers craft, particularly their more advanced ones, actually have quite a lot of, like, missile defense, so I think this is also the point where, if you've been coasting through with missiles, as people tend to do, you're going to have a rude shock when it comes to these guys, because they love their radar decoys. And I think we're just going to really bully the Iron Cordon today. Because, let's see, I just picked a White Flare craft at random. So this is the Thresher. And that looks like a whole bunch of missile interceptors. Which actually is managing to take out a few of those missiles. So, yeah, they don't use LAM so much, as mentioned, but they do have other things they have, which can really put a dent in your missile volley. So I'd recommend against relying on missiles too much. But one thing that is a very good idea, and not so much the weapon, but a weapon platform. Let's spawn in... Wait, we want to go here first. What the hell did I just spawn in? It was the...
I just spawned in the Thrasher.
The Thrasher. Right, so we got the Thrasher here. The Onyx Watch actually has a thing that, I don't know, might not be the perfect example, but... fly, damn it, fly! Because most White Flare ramming craft... Oh, that was an excellent first volley, wasn't it? My goodness, that was actually a really good demonstration. Most White Flare ramming craft, and they can't fly. They go for surface targets. And also, if you're going to use crams on something, you might want to dance like the Eerie does, and, well, getting close and cram them that way. Because that way you'll be safe from ramming, and also you'll get to... I don't know, blow corrupt religious authorities to pieces with pretty explosions. I kind of lost track there. But, yeah, flying is a good idea. You just gotta make sure your flying stuff is resistant enough to all those AP shells, which the White Flayers love to use. And Plasma? Plasma works against more compact designs. Plasma will absolutely do a number on them. And lasers are... This is also the point where lasers are, I think, another thing where new players... you know, you can coast through the Deepwater Guard and the Onyx Watch with them, and so I think sometimes new players might overestimate how useful lasers can be. White Flayers craft are smoked, particularly their larger and slower stuff. My goodness, there's a lot of smoke, and also there is a lot of shield projectors, which weakens... I nearly said wasers. Razors? Lasers? Further. So, if you're trying to coast by on lasers with these guys, you can have a bad day. Let's see how much the damage the Exodual does. That'll be interesting. Quite a bit, because that laser's nonsense. That's actually a pretty good preview of just how irritating the White Flayers can be, actually. Although, I think the Retaliator has immediately disabled it, so... Why are we doing the Lightning Hoods later? That was a rhetorical question. Okay, so... We should probably get into the craft to watch out for a little bit, because there's a few to watch out for. I have a list of their ramming craft. Roar. You can spawn in just stuff while I mention them, right?
Alright, sounds good.
Alright, if you can spawn in...
You want them on our team?
Yeah, our team, why not?
Okay.
So I'm gonna list the Kamikaze craft first. First, there is the Martyr. And I need to actually be looking in the direction you spawn that in, wherever it is.
Yep. I'm just at the resource ring right now. Sorry, okay, Martyr, that is...
Where the hell is the resource ring? Help!
Right,
oh wait, no.
Martyr.
Where'd he go? Help! Oh no, cut this out. Oh wait, there it is. Spawny, like, alright. Hang out there. Why is it invisible? Oh, there. Oh, it's like, you know, fun thing about looking for stuff is that sometimes it's above you. So, Martyr, Sin Eater, the Harrow. Can we get a Harrow on screen? There's the Harrow. Yay! Ta-da! Freezing them as well. Oh, that's very helpful. Yeah. And the Lacerator, kind of question mark, because the Lacerator doesn't so much isn't a suicide craft itself, it's just that when I tested this thing, it does spawn a nuke underneath itself, which tends to blow itself up as well. Which is honestly quite funny to see. So if you see those names, going to read them out again: Martyr, Sinita, Harrow, and Lacerator. Those are the things that are going to fly at you and blow you up. Roar, are there any more that I've missed, or any that might be incoming?
So just Frustercraft alone, I'm going to recommend the Last Rite and the Wrecker. Those are both melee craft as well, which will come in on you and absolutely ruin your day. The Wrecker is the reason why you don't automatically want to necessarily go to the air.
Alright.
If you look at the Wrecker, there's the giant spinning ball of doom.
Yeah. Right, you've actually jumped ahead a little bit. I was going to get to those. It's okay. This is what I get for not sharing my crib notes ahead of time. But anyway, yeah, the ramming craft as well. So I'm going to list them all out, and like honestly, like you spawn whichever ones you think are cool in the background. Just so we've got the I can't even pronounce this one. The Uropki, Uropki, the Charger, the Wrecker, the Pontus, the Pulverizer, kind of. Actually, yeah, the Pulverizer. It's got melee packs on top of it. The Buzzsaw, the Flay's Soul, the Longinus, the Velez, the Last Rite, as we've seen up there, and the Pandemonium. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them.
I was going to say, that's already a lot of them, so let's get a few in here.
Yeah, they really like their melee craft over here, and you can... Oh, something else spawned in. Yep, there's a lot of dudes. Yeah. So yeah, you can see lots of spikes, lots of spinny things. These are the... What the hell? Wow, I forgot that the Buzzsaw looked like this. Jeez, this is terrifying as well. It's like, you can't actually downplay the psychological impact of seeing something like this charging towards your precious ship that you spent like so many hours on, and you had no idea this was coming because it's only like your 100th hour playing the game. Oh boy. I remember back in the day, Ireland, like, sorry to mention that, like, RIP, he's still alive, but still RIP, absolutely like had a really shocking time when he ran into the White Flayers, because like his largest ship essentially got abducted into space by something like this. I think it was actually the Valkyrie that did it, but still, that still happens to this day. Is that these guys will run into you top speed and carry you off to places, will carry you off to a secondary location. That was a horrible joke. Anyway, we should probably also mention, like, the priest craft are all roughly the same, in the sense that they will just shoot at you with, like, big railguns, or just armor-piercing shells in general, and you all kind of, if you see one of them, it's, well, I don't know, it depends on how much armor and shields you have, whether you actually brown your pants, but I am going to spawn in the biggest, meanest thing, so far, anyway, hint hint. Hint hint, like, feel free to chime in and say, like, yes, so there's gonna be a $10 million craft that will, like, I don't know, snipe Rambot specifically, or something like that. I really hope nothing like that ever gets added.
Yeah, I specifically am on the team of reducing campaign vehicle sizes so we can actually have everything be uniform.
Yeah.
There are a few big builds, I believe, in the works at the moment. The Covenant is currently the newest large build that I know of.
Ah.
Because I helped with the flight decks.
Nice! Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, I should mention that, like, we spawned in almost every single kamikaze thing. The Covenant is worth mentioning, because it is an aircraft carrier, except the thing it carries are martyrs. So this is something I quite like. It's like a godly designer shows up as like, oh, I wonder what that is, and like, then it shows up with 6 martyrs, and you're like, oh no, not you again. So it's like familiarity in the most, how do you say it? Trouser soiling way possible. We like that.
Yes.
But I am gonna... Yeah, okay, no, carry on.
No, I was gonna say, the Covenant is designed as a battle carrier, and so this is actually the best time in the game to have your weapons set correctly. Because what happens here is a lot of your weapons will automatically prio the largest target, which is the actual carrier itself. And that means all those little nukes, there's 6 martyrs, which means that is 12 nukes coming directly to your front door, and you have not shot them down because you're focusing on the carrier.
Exactly. Like, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but like, really, this thing is the poster child for that. There is a bit of a hint of that, like with the Deepwater Guard, with, can I remember, the Tortuga and the Barracuda, those carriers. But this is the thing that really drives home, is like, yeah, no, you are gonna want those those secondary APS, laser plasma, pack, whatever have you, because unlike those little Tweety birds that those deep-water guard carriers have, these mortars really, really hurt. They will blow your superstructure and your turret caps clean off, while the Covenant rips you to pieces. So yeah, fair point, Roar. This is the point where it's like, alright, we warned you, and now this is no longer the warning shot. This is the real shot, so to speak. Okay, we should touch on the Redeemer, though, because this is probably the biggest and fattest and most decadent priest-style ship, and it's like hard to imagine like more priest-y than this, I guess. This thing is just... I get the sense that this is deliberately extravagant. Would you say that this thing is deliberately over the top in a lot of ways, Roar?
Yeah, so I would agree. So this is what we normally call a godly unit. And specifically, it goes over the meter volume limit. So we have an internal volume limit now of about 35k for campaign craft, just so we don't lag lower-end computers. And we have a few units that go over that are called elites. And so those are usually godly units that, they're literally just made as like, alright, we are taking down the player now, do not pass go, do not collect 200 materials.
I didn't know that. So just a side note, like, volume does impact performance? I thought it was just block count.
Volume and block count are usually linked together, and when you get larger craft, like we use volume as an I'm not going to say arbitrary, it's the easiest metric to go by. Because if you go by material cost, depending on what blocks you can use, that could really severely hamper some factions. And same with block count, because if you look at Onyx Watch, Cram is a lot more block count heavy than APS
right,
is.
yeah.
And so we use volume as the metric, because that way it keeps everyone fair, because you can cheese volume, but usually we can catch that.
Okay then. Alright, thanks for clearing that up. Duly noted. For everyone who is trying to make a campaign of their own. I don't know if there's anyone here who's doing that, but duly noted.
yeah, who would make a custom campaign?
Who would do that?
Definitely not the two of us.
Yeah, definitely not the two of us, and certainly certainly no one here has already done multiple streams making something incredibly ambitious for their first time. Oh no, no one has done.
That calls out both of us. Oh god.
Yeah, everyone hold your hands up now. Guilty. Alright, so the thing to note about the Redeemer is, I think we mentioned this before, sneaky, is that this is the only White Flayer craft, words are hard, that has lambs in it, I believe. It's, I wonder what's in this huge rubber container. Oh, look! It is funny, Raw, that you, interesting that you mentioned that they get their high-tech from the Lightning Hoods, because the Lightning Hoods are laser crazy, and the White Flayers don't really use lasers that much, at all, really. Is there a lore reason for that?
So the lore reason for the most part is just that Lightning Hoods likes to keep a lot of their technology back for themselves, just in case White Flayers ever turns on them. And that's why you'll notice that White Flayers has a lot of railguns and packs, which are high-tech in their own regard, but they don't get the good stuff that Lightning Hood primarily uses. Like, you won't see many railguns on Lightning Hood craft, but you will see a lot of lasers, a lot of higher-end packs, and a lot of plasma.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, and it kind of makes a lot of sense as well, lore-wise. This is where I can show off the tiny amount of lore that I know, is that they like using railguns and particle cannons because that's what the Steel Striders use, and the White Flayers, I think, stole a lot of their tech from the Steel Striders when they essentially seceded from the Steel Empire. Am I getting that right?
That is correct, yeah. So Lightning Hoods was the research division for the Steel Empire. They broke off, and they inspired the White Flayer Rebellion in order to be able to get away. And so that's why you'll see a lot of White Flayer ships have similar design motifs to Steel Strider ships, like in terms of conventional cruisers or conventional, the pre-style stuff. It looks like a ship. It doesn't look like a ball of rams like the Wrecker was. Ah,
right. Well, that is super cool to know, actually. There's lore reasons, why they do the way they do. It's just to assure everybody, the White Flayers are not the way they are just to make you sad when you fight them. There is a narrative here as well. But yeah, getting back to the Redeemer, a little thing, is one thing about this guy is like, jeez, it's got a lot of stuff in here. Like, it's big, it's got lots of steam engines. The broadside particle cannons, I do have to say, just thematically, is such a thing with these guys. Because here's my broadsiding rant. If you're gonna have fixed weapons, they should be... Well, alright, if you're being practical and meta about it, they should be mounted in a way that they're always pointing at whatever enemy you're fighting. If you have big, expensive stuff pointing in every single direction, especially on a broadside, half of these particle cannons are not going to be firing on the main target, if there is only one main target. The fact that this White Flare craft has broadsiding particle cannons like this is... It's like all at once, like, from a soulless meta perspective, kind of dumb, but it's also friggin' scary because these are really big packs, and also it's really thematically appropriate, I feel, because it's just like, they are the priests and they are extravagant as hell, using the resources that essentially the poorer zealots just like don't ever really get a shot at using. Like, what would be your thoughts on that, Roar?
So the main reason why we have the massive broadsides like that is it's just the rule of cool that dictates a lot of what we do. Because if you want to make the campaign like difficult, we could in theory just do oops all front-siders with heavy armor, and then just make them like dress up some squares. But it leads to a feeling of like sameness, and it means that it's like the goal of campaign is to have every unit feel like a unique fight. That's the easiest way to frame it, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I think the Redeemer really does that well.
Yeah, this is a unique fight. And also, weirdly enough, this is the... Alright, despite the fact that it has a big lambs back there, speaking as a biased cram gunner, because this thing is so big, it is, weirdly enough, like, one of the better cram targets, actually. So long as you're using big crams. If you're trying to, like, I don't know, if you stole the crams off a plunderer or something, you're probably not going to have a good time with those. Because I think it also has Seawiz as well. I think it does. Or does it? No, it does! It's that thing on the back! Hang on, I'm finding it.
So it has one Seawiz on the side, and it also has lambs.
Yeah. Yep, I found the Seawiz controller. Alrighty! That just about does it for the white... Uh-oh, these two... That actually looks really cool. Look at...
I was gonna say they're in formation, that's cool.
Wow, look at that! Screenshot. Damn. Wow, like, okay, well, we've got to end the video right there. It's not going to get cooler than that, I don't think, but...
Yeah, we peaked already.
Yeah, we peaked already. But yeah, that's, to summarize the White Flayers, is like, this is where the game actually gets hard to all you people who are playing through Nita for the first time, so... The long and short of it is, like, the White Flayers, in their craft, are kind of already... giving away the best way to beat them, the best way to counter them, so to speak. So, reverse engineer the hell out of them, get those armor-piercing shells, use those internal slopes and wedges, use them shields, target prioritization so you can blow up their kamikazes and their priests at the same time, and you should be good to go. And if you can take these guys on, you will be in a much, much better position to take on the factions that follow them, which do... a lot of the similar, more advanced stuff that they do, except more so. Any thoughts on that, Roar?
For the most part, no, you're right. Like, the campaign craft are built specifically so that they can be reverse engineered. We want you guys to take apart our builds. It gives us a source of pride when we see you guys put in the Discord screenshots of you getting blown up by our builds. It's quite fun. And for the most part, though, they're built specifically so that a new player can look at them and take away what they need in order to make their own campaign successful. And that's the point of campaign building. That's why I really enjoy it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I got nothing more. I've run out of the script I've had, but, yeah, that is the White Flayers in a nutshell. Good luck fighting them. Bring your heavy armor wedges, because they will shoot holes through you, and, Roar, thank you so much for joining me in this little faction overview. It was really good to have you here.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to join you for these. I've been watching these quite often along with the Most Wanted series, and it's really fun to see how people pick apart the campaign builds. For those of you, I do want to do a little shout out to the Discord, because for those of you interested in having your build in the game, there are bounties live at the moment for various factions that you can build for. It's a fantastic way to get good at the game, because essentially you'll build something, it'll be peer reviewed, it'll be sent back, you'll update it, and so on and so forth.
That's actually a really good point to make, which I've never actually mentioned to people, is that all of these craft are community made, pretty much. So if you have dreams of like making your own White Flare craft or any other faction, that can happen. So go say hi. Why not? Introduce yourself. But yeah.
BorderWise, when we get one from you.
I actually did. Side note, I did make an updated version of the Bulwark. It did get rejected because it didn't follow the rules exactly, but I might try that again because I feel so sorry for the Bulwark. It should be much scarier than it actually is. But that's beside the point. Is there any final thoughts you got for the people?
Honestly, as far as the people go, honestly, just have fun fighting the White Flayers. It's a fun faction. It's fun to build for, fun to fight against. It's high speed, low drag. And, sorry, I had to quote. And, yeah, no. Honestly, have a wonderful day.
Yay! Alright, and I mentioned this at the start of the video, but I'll mention again, Rawston streams on Twitch, streams FTD, and if you want to see how a Keeper of the Lore and how someone who builds regularly for the official campaigns of From the Depths does things, go check him out, and his sense of aesthetics is so much better than mine, it's not funny. So go say hello. It's at twitch.tv/RawstonVT. Did I remember that URL right off the top of my head?
Yeah, it's twitch.tv/RawstonVT. I do a lot of campaign builds that are going to be in the next update. I did them on stream. I'm going to show a little bit here. I also do a part of my stream where I allow viewers to submit their craft, and then I give them aesthetic feedback. I actually did this with BorderWise quite often. We collabed quite a bit a while ago, where we would look at craft together. It was quite a lot of fun.
It was like 2 streams, but yeah, it was really good, and we need to do that more.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that sums it up for this faction overview. So thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you, like a Patreon Discord available at the lowest tier of $1 a month. You can come say hi to me if that is a burning desire of yours. And check out my other channels as well. From the Depths is not the only thing I do. And like I said before, check out Rawston, and thank you again, Rawston, for joining me here.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Awesome! Have a good day, everyone. Farewell!